Alright guys, I got kind of sidetracked there. Right, so what we're going to do is we need a post-process volume or a light volume. Right, so what I'm doing here is going through the basics of stuff to see what difference it makes. Now, don't ask me why. But there's a lot of weird stuff going on. Right? There's a lot of weird stuff going on. For example, I can't eat chips, how you doing, bud? I have created a lot of things here. Right? But nothing seems to actually work properly. So, for example, if I press play, my character just falls, right? Now, I can believe that. I can get behind that. So, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to stick a cube. You'll notice now, this character, for some reason, all of my characters, all of my things are getting put at ridiculous locations. Right, I don't know why. Right, so you can see this a bit better now actually. So look, this is our landscape, right? Now, what the hell is it doing over there? And why does it... I mean, seriously? I mean, it is way out of sync with... Now, this might just be the way it is, which, I mean, why? I mean, this might be something to do with level streaming, I'm guessing. Right? Am I going to have to say... So, we've got the landscape, right? So yeah, okay, that I understand. I don't understand why our landscape doesn't actually move. But okay, I'll buy that, right? Now, the question now is, where is our player start in relation to our landscape? And it looks like our player start is a mile up in the air. But then again, actually, is it? Let's press play. Okay, I can buy that. Right, so we're okay with that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a cube. Right, we're just going to add, in fact, we'll add a cone. Right, now let's drag it way over here. Right, and according to that, so there is our cone way over there. Now it's actually still streaming it. So you can see me moving on the right hand side there. Right, so if we run towards that, now I'm going to stop that for now, and what I'm going to do is in theory right, I don't understand this. Right, it's like, where is our player start? Okay. So if I do that, okay, that's probably not good. We'll do that. We'll load that. Right? Then if we press play, you see our thing is still loaded. Okay? So the question for me is, world partition. World settings. Right, so it would seem to me, okay, click on that, okay. Loading range. So let's say we call that 20,000. Right? And we press play. Okay, we're going to stop that for now. We're going to go to our player start. Right? Then we're going to drop him down. In fact, wait a minute. Yeah, if we just do that, that'd be the easiest way to do it. Right, so if we escape that, right, and we say, actually, if we say 10,000, right, now it isn't loaded. Right, so, or is it? Is it loaded? Ah, look at that. So, you'll see right, that didn't load. Right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to your cone, right, then I'm going to size it up, right, so we're going to say 10, 10, 10. In fact, let's make it even bigger. Should have just locked it, but anyway. Right. So we have a big huge cone, right? And we're going to press play, and we have no cone. So we get our bit of, actually look at that, we get our cone as well. Let's, right, that doesn't make any sense. Why is the cone not streaming out? Don't understand. Right, so the first part I don't understand. And the code is already there. Is it because it's too big? Let's have a look, shall we? Is there some kind of weird thing about this? Do I need to make this part of a data layer? Right, if I press play, right? It isn't there. Right, it's not there, definitely not there. Right, if we run forward, there is our thing. Okay. Now, funnily enough, right, I'm going to move this over to here. Right, I'm going to press play. Right, definitely not there. Okay, because what I was thinking was that this might be getting, for some reason, because of the culling, the Z buffer culling or distance occlusion culling, it was getting occluded by stuff that wasn't getting drawn, and therefore it didn't show up. Now that's kind of what I expected, right? Because this landscape is closer than that cone was, but it should show up pretty soon. Where the hell is it? Where the hell is it? That is goddamn bizarre. Right, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll move it in front of there. We'll press play. Now it's not there, right? As we'd expect. There it's there. As we'd expect. Now it should be closer than these hills, right? Should be, that is. And it is. Right? Most certainly is. Right? So that's kind of what we expected. Right? So now, if we run away from it, our land should disappear, or our hills. Oh. Yep. Yep. And I think it's because that's the end of the map. Right? I think it's because our actual landscape isn't big enough. Right? Now, if we go to our landscape, right? And then go to paint. Okay, whatever. Right, this one's actually set to green. Right, but for obviously some reason it decides not to paint the green. Right, but fundamentally we would probably have to do that. Right, and then if we look at our world partition, right, so I'm guessing that actually when we set up a landscape we'd probably need to do basically a better job of it. And if I'm right and we go down here, don't need to bother with that. And the loading range, I think there is grid name, cell size, loading range. Right, that's actually not what we want. But I think what you can do right is, or at least what I thought you'd be able to do, if I change this, right, let's say to 8,000, right, so it's the circle is what's showing us what should load from the point you're in, right? So if we go to 24,000, right, this whole circle here, even including the stuff that doesn't include the landscape. Now only if we move this like really outside, like to here. Now if we press play, you can see that the cube's not there. And now it's there. But we know we didn't need to move actually very far, and then it's popped out again. Right. Now this is really, really cool. Right. So I'm going to save all this, right? I'm going to save all. And then what we're going to do is we're going to open up the copy we have of the Groenland IF Dewey. Right, open project settings. I'm sure this was already set, but anyway. So we need to go down to platforms, Windows, SMS 6 and restart now. And guys, earlier today I wouldn't have known that, but there was a couple of guys earlier today going, you know, oh, Unreal Engine, I'll never learn it and blah blah. And you just learn bits here and there, and it gradually builds on itself. So if you think you're struggling, don't worry, you'll gradually get hold of it, right? What am I doing, bro? Well, bro, what I'm doing, bro, is I am finding out. The problem is we have a project, right? And a lot of the gameplay mechanics are done, right? Like, you can shoot wildlife, monsters, climb ladders, do storage, do crafting, cooking, light fires, pick up keys, open doors, blah blah blah, all that good stuff. But the thing you can't do, or the thing that we're having a problem with, or we think we are going to have a problem with, is streaming, level streaming. So over the last couple of days, we have been, well, I've been exporting it to Unreal Engine 5 and finding out how easy or difficult it is to redo the maps. If it's easy to export the maps and then re-import them into Unreal Engine 5. And what we've found is that it's not easy at all. In fact, it's the opposite. It is a complete... Well, it's not a nightmare. It's just be ready to do the whole thing again, right? If you have, like, for example, right, let me give you an example. This is the test map, right? So this is where I do most of my development in 4.27. Right, now because this is a standalone map and it's only for testing mechanics, it ports across fine, as you will see in a second. The problem comes when you've got world composition, and we have 101 maps / levels, right? And what I have found is that you can't, there's no easy way, you can convert them, right? But when you do, they don't keep a relevant transform, right? So basically each map starts at the 0.00, right? Or vice versa. So the individual maps are not relative to each other. So if you've got a map that relatively you move at 10,000 on the X, right? In your assets are not going to move 10,000 on the X. They're still going to be at the point on that map where they are. The change in the transform comes when you stream them in and it gets the level composition and then basically adds the relative map position. So in the map it might say this mesh is at 00. I'm from Scotland. So that might say in the map that I've placed a mesh at position 000, right? But when it actually gets loaded in on the world composition map, it's at minus 10,000. Minus 10,000 0. Right, because of the relative position of the map. So when you try to load that in to Unreal Engine 5, it just sticks it at 0.00. It doesn't take into consideration the relative map position. Which means that it looks like you cannot basically convert a world composition map into a world partition map, which means that you have basically got a problem, and a rather large problem at that, right? So you can see here that this map looks absolutely fine. We have all of this stuff, right? And it's because it is a standalone map. Now the problem comes if I try to open like this one here, right? So if I say, let's see what one this one, no, that's not the right one. I think it's this one. Right, so if I load this map, G1, right, It's not that one either. Right, because that's just basically the starter map. Right? Is it? That's the one I just loaded, wasn't it? Is it test sub? Right, so it's not test sub either. Right, it's this one here. Right, if I load in Greenland main, now this is the persistent map from the original world composition, right? But what it doesn't do is basically get any of the maps underneath it. Right, now, while that's fine, it basically screws everything. Because now it would normally show as an empty map, right, with only the persistent items in it. But what I've done in this example is I have basically converted some of its submaps or sub-levels. I've copied all of the items out of it and then pasted them back in to this main map. Right, now, as I said, relatively, if the coordinates are correct, so for example, if your submap has a set of submaps, then those things are going to show up in the right place. Okay, but as you will see in a second when this loads, other stuff does not. Right? Now, oopsie. So it's going to do this crap. I'm going to close that. We'll let it build its thing. Right, so you will see here, right now, this part of the landscape, it's not a landscape, right, but this part of the map should not be here, right? And basically, I can describe this to you, right? All of this is one map, okay? All of this stuff here is pretty much one map, okay? Now, I've been redrawing some of the landscape just for a laugh, but don't worry about that. Okay, so if I, for example, what we're going to do, right, is we're going to go, actually, we're going to go to here. Now, if I load or I convert this, right? In fact, what I'm going to do is I'll show you how you normally are supposed to do this, and then I'll show you what the problems are with it, right? I think that's the best way to describe this. Now, this for me at the moment is all about trying to find out how what is the most effective way to move the maps, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to there, I'm going to go to there, I'm going to go to here, and I'm going to go to 40, right? So there is 40, but that's the one I'm going to convert, okay? And then what I'm going to say is convert level. Then we go into here, we go into here, right? And then we go to 40, open, right? And we let it do its thing. Okay, so this is going to take a second or two, but this is the only way I can really show you the problem that we actually have. Hi, Quite Abandoned, how you doing? Right, this is the only way to show you the problem that we have. Now, this might mean that we need to completely rebuild the map, right, which is a big bloody map, but at least we know that's what we need to do. If there's some way we can automate it in some way, then fine. But at the moment, it seems like an individual map is an individual map, and that's the way it has to stay, unless you basically recreate the whole darn thing. Right, now the second one you've got, and basically another problem we've got, is the fact that if this, well, I've still got problems with this, but otherwise fine. Right, the problem with this is all of the maps were built to a specific landscape, and the other problem is that the other landscape basically doesn't work. Right? Now, I think we have to wait a second or two here. Or, actually, we have to go to this one. Right, now, according to this, there are no actors. Right, nothing. Absolutely nothing. But I'm not buying that. I think there is. Again, according to this, there is absolutely no. It thinks that is an empty thing, but it's not, as you can see. Unless, well, it's saying preparing shader. Unless this is somehow, now I wouldn't actually be surprised, right? I wouldn't actually be surprised if this needed a change. Right? because this might have some sort of tessellation on it. Right, that's the instance, so we're going to minimize that. That's the instance. That's the virtual. Why is there a black circle there? There's a black circle there because it hasn't, there's something wrong with material. So this is using lots of material functions by the looks of it. There's material functions: snow, ground, rock, blah blah. We've got displacement. So I'm not going to be in the slightest bit. Let's have a look. Let's do some more hunting. Right, I'm just wondering here. You can see this is still doing stuff. You know, preparing shaders. It's gradually doing stuff. Now the thing is, it kinda looks to me like this is infinity weather. So if this is infinity weather, we might need yeah, alright guys, we get the picture with the circle thing. Right, but the really interesting thing here is this. Right, that we've loaded a map and it has absolutely 0 actors on it. That wasn't a texture, that was a material function. That's not what the final texture looks like. Now, don't ask me why. But the crazy thing here is that you were just looking at the texture, right? If you didn't know, in the test map, that's what you were looking at when you saw the ground, right? So if I load up this test map, right? Guess what the ground is? You've guessed it. It's that texture you were just looking at that you said was low quality and really rubbish. Well, this is it here. Right? It's just that it was working through its issues. But that doesn't change the problem. Right? It doesn't change the problem with our 4.0 issue. This is our 4.0 WP. The reason it puts the WP on is it's been converted to world partition, WP, right? But notice it has absolutely 0 actors in it, right? Nothing. So, if that's the case, then we should really go from 4-0 and we should go 3-4, 3 or 2-0, right? So let's go 2-0 and we can open it, right? But it's not gonna, we're not gonna be able to do anything with it. That's 2-6, we don't want to open that. 2-0. Right, and again, there's nothing there. Okay. Now, if we go 4-0, we've still got nothing. So either, see, the problem is, it's just a landscape. Right? That's all it is. It's the landscape. So, in theory, one has to ask oneself, if I delete that, and you'll notice that I can't even, there's no location, no rotation, but there is a scale. But you'll notice that I can't see it, right? You can also see what these things are. Right? And the WP thing should be fine. And if we enable the grid, my wife is about to come in, so I'm going to switch. I'm going to have a break for a minute, okay? I shall be back just shortly. Alright, we are back. Right, so our problem is I forgot what I was doing. Right. Interesting. So it looks to me like this wasn't right. So this should now create the proxy again, in theory. Right, but you'll notice that there's nothing to paint on, right? And you'll also notice that it's upside down. It was upside down, right? So this is the problem here, that it's just not the way it should be. And that is the huge problem here that we have. The dog hasn't got any toys. It was just a dog, basically. It's a small dog and it yaps a lot. Well, it doesn't like... Actually, it's a pretty decent dog. It's just when the wife comes home, it loses its shit. Basically. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to try this again. Right? And the problem is here. In fact, you know what? The best idea here is just say yes to that. The best idea is to show you the actual map in 4.27 and how it is actually done. Right? And then I'll describe to you why it's a problem. But the other thing is we can actually check some of the maps to see which maps are empty and which maps are not. Right? And if we can actually get a landscape from 4.27 and manually copy it and paste it into 5.1, and I'm very much doubting that we can do that, but anyway, I think the best I can say is it's worth a try. I'm trying basically anything at the moment to see if it's going to make our job easier, and I just don't see it. I'm just not seeing it at all at the moment. Everything that shows any kind of promise quickly evaporates into that's not going to work. Right? And I mean quickly. But anyway, we shall have a look. So if you're enjoying things, by the way, guys, hit like and subscribe and click the little bell thing for reminders. That's a new thing to say for me. You'll notice that, by the way, guys, you'll notice that you never hear the dog. Right? Because that's because it sits about 5 feet away from me on the couch and really never makes very much noise. The only time it actually loses its shit is if the wife comes back after she's been away for an hour or two, or the guys in the trash vans, because they make a lot of noise, so he'll get a bit upset with them sometimes. But other than that, he'll basically not make much noise. No, it's not a Chihuahua. It's just a little black Heinz 57 varieties. Right, where were we? Right. Okay, let's have a look at the actual 4.7 map, and this will better explain things for you, right? So, in here we have the main map, right? So we can open this up, okay? Now it's bigger than a Chihuahua, but smaller than... I would say it's about... it's about the same size as a Dachshund. Not a Dachshund. What do you call the sausage dogs? Dachshund. Yeah, it's about the same size as a Dachshund in length, but it's a normal sized dog type ratio of legs to body. It's not like a little fat thing with small legs. It's like a normal sized dog ratio, but you know. Anyway, enough about the dog. Right, so you'll see here that this has just got this, right? And that's what it should have, because this is a persistent level, right? And the way it was done previously is you basically attached levels to the persistent level, okay? And then what you could do is, if you wanted to look at it, right, you could do that, and that would show you the complete map, right? And then if you look here, this will show you the parts of the map: x131, x2, y1, right? x4, y1 is this bit, right? x51, then so on, so forth, right? Top of the map, we can zoom in even further, right? So we could say x3, 63, x3, 6, and then we can say load, right? And it'll load it in, right? But it's not really got anything on it at the moment by the looks of it. Now you can see that's them away over there. Right, now what I'm going to do is we're going to up the speed so that we can get up there quicker. Right, and you can see those parts of the map. And as you can see, there ain't much to them. Right? Now, you can see that the only thing it's got is these landscape proxies. Right? And that's the problem, because these are the things that are not coming across in Unreal Engine 5. Right? So we can actually go to here and we can load this. Right? We can go to here. We can load that. But it still doesn't do us any good because there's nothing on that map. We can load this. Right? I don't know what this big thing is. Right? But we can load it to find out anyway. Right? And apparently it's nothing. Right? We can basically load that. Oh, we can't because we've already got it loaded. Right, so we can load this. Now you'll notice it doesn't really show you anything on the map as far as actors and stuff go, but there is a little bit of settlement there. I don't understand the question. Right, these are subsections, right? Cliff section, medium, cliff section, medium, medium, right? Now these are under here or here. We can load that. Right, and this is going to load a whole bunch of subsections. And then basically what I could do is load all of these. Right, so all of these are subsections of 3.0. Right, so you can now see how many levels there are. And every single one of these is going to have a landscape, right? So literally, if we go back here, why UE4? I don't care. Why UE4? I've got a video on why UE4, but the whole point of this stream is to actually start moving into Unreal 5. But there's a video on why I used, up until basically now, why I did not use Unreal Engine 5. And at the moment, it's kind of given us a very good reason of why still not to use Unreal Engine 5, because you can't move maps. So if you've got 101 maps, a good reason not to use Unreal Engine 5 would be you would have to recreate 101 new maps. So there's no way that I can replicate these maps at all. Right, so this is 3.1. Okay, we know that's 3.1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to here. Sorry, it's 3.0, I'm talking tripe. We're going to open 3.0, right? Now, this is 3.0. And these are all the items in it, in the outliner, right? No, actually it's 290 Ti's water cooled. Problem? Right, what's this? This is not the player start. Yeah, it's a zombie. Right, now 18,000, 14,000. Right. Now, that is something I'm kind of interested in. Kinda. But what we're really interested in is the player start. Oh, you said I use a 950 Ti. 750 Ti. To be quite honest, I don't know anything about what's faster these days. I know there's 3090s and 4080s and whatever. There used to be back in the day, it was just the first prefix, and then there was 70s, 80s and TIs. So I take it it's basically still the same, but it's really stupid expensive now for the high-end graphics cards, basically. Right, so another thing that's happening here is I'm losing concentration and my focus on what's going on. Right, so I need to load 3.0, right? So let's take it that we're loading 3.0. The next thing is right, we're going to have to slow down our camera again. Right, so here is our player start. Right, now it looks to me like this is okay. It's minus 40,000, 2077, right? And all of that good stuff. Now, I wish, and I probably can actually, if I added another player start, let's say, right, just for a second or two, and I put it at 0.00, right, and then I went straight to it, where is it in relation to the rest of our map is the question. Right, where is it? Right, if we zoom out, where is this player start in relation to the rest of the map? Is it over there? Apparently not. Is it over there? Yeah, it's over there. Right? Now, here's the funny thing. We're going to go player start 2, right? And we're going to delete that, okay? And then we're going to go to play start 1, right? And we're going to copy this. Now, we're going to do the rotation later. It's 104, doesn't really matter actually, but, or it's not really important. But what we want to do is, let's have a look at Unreal Engine 5. Then we'll put, we know that it didn't bring across the persistent stuff, right? Right? And the player start was a persistent object, which is fine. I'm not going to argue about that at this point. Probably do it different later, but it doesn't really need to be there. But what we are going to do is we're going to add in our own player start. Right? And then, once we do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to type convert landscape UE4 to UE5. To see how you do this. Right, and as usual, the first answer says, we don't know. Right, so we're going to open this one. So it looks like nobody knows how to actually change over a Yep, nobody knows. Well, there's what we could do. Haven't thought about it, right? What we could do is we could export. Could we? Okay, thinking. What we could do is we could export the landscapes as height maps, possibly. Let's do this first, right? Right, so what map were we using here? Was it Groenland main, WP? Can't remember. God, I can't remember. Alright, I'm going to cancel that. So it might have to be that we, for the main parts of the map, I suppose what you could do is you could stitch together the height map. The real problem's going to come when you do the submaps, right, and how the landscape ties up with the submaps. If they use the same submap, then I suppose, yeah, probably. We might get away with it if, as before, certain levels had a landscape and nothing else, which would actually make sense. So in theory, we might be able to do something that way. But anyway, got so many unanswered questions here, and I can't find any answers on them anywhere. There isn't a good way, there isn't, basically what they tell you is the basics of what I've done tonight, which is like convert a specific map to a world partition, but you can't join them, merge two levels together, right, in Unreal Engine 5, at least not that I've seen. Right, the world partition is one big map, fundamentally, which has got its cells, right, but it is fundamentally one big map. So if you were to do from world partitioning into the, sorry, if you do world composition to world partition, then it would have to allow you to merge maps, convert them and then merge them, but apparently you can't. And in our case, it doesn't make any difference anyway, because the landscape is basically screwed, right? Which is why we're going to have to come up with some kind of a solution to that, right? So it seems to be that every single thing we try and do, we're having to come up with a new solution or some kind of other crazy solution that we hope is going to work. Now, this is the map with lots of stuff added to it, right? This is the landscape added to it, which isn't going to work, but we'll worry about that in a minute. So basically what we want to do here is we want to add a basic, a player start, right? There's our player start. Then details, paste, right? And then we want to jump to it. Now that actually looks kind of right. Right? Believe it or not, that looks actually right. Now, this part does not. This looks completely wrong. Right? Right, because this part up here, right, should basically be down here. Right? So it's all kind of weird. Now, as I said, I'm just wondering if we can output all of the static meshes from every map, then manually bring them in on an editor widget, if that would solve... It's going to solve one problem, right? But it's not going to solve the landscape problem, right? Everything else can be kind of screwed about with, but fundamentally, if we could do that, then that is going to solve a lot of problems, right? So what we need to do is create some kind of an editor widget that basically outputs every single static mesh, right? Now we already have something like that for our hierarchical instance meshes, right? So we know how to do that. The only thing is that we've got to output it to some kind of CSV file or a text file or something that we can read back in, right? What we're going to end up doing here is we're going to get every static mesh, right? And then basically we're going to output it to a text file, then we're going to open Unreal Engine 5, we're going to then read that file and create all those static meshes again in the exact transform position that they were, right? Then the idea now is, right, here is this is my overall plan, 2-part plan. Next part of the plan, after that's done, now I'm going to have to do that on 101 maps, right? But straightforward plan. Next plan is to get the height maps and see if we can export the height maps from the landscape, right? And if we can get the height maps from the landscape, then we can hopefully export them, And if we can, we export them with the name that that map is, and then we'll be able to position it, we'll be able to load it back in as part of the height map for Unreal Engine 5. Now, it might mean that we need some kind of a bit of software or something that stitches together all of the height maps, right, into one height map, right? Because I don't think you can use multiple height maps for a single landscape. But if we can somehow stitch together the height maps from Unreal Engine 4 into Unreal Engine 5, then that, I mean, actually work. And that is going to be the plan, folks, right? So, I'm going to call it there, because what I'm going to do now is either A, I'm going to see if I can output from, I think I can output from a blueprint to some kind of a text file, right? Now, I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think I've got an asset that does it now, maybe, right? If not, I'll need to refer back to a previous project I worked on that I actually wrote out some save file settings to a text file in C++, right? So I could always refer to that if I need to. Okay, so it's not, none of this is beyond the realms of possibility. Okay, so with that in mind, guys, I'm going to call it there. If you've enjoyed the stream, hit like and subscribe. I'll be back tomorrow 2 PM. I'm now going to go get some ciggies, walk the dog, then I'm going to come back and I'm going to do preliminary work on the tools to get this to work, to get this to happen. Okay, so thank you guys for watching. Check out the description for links to Discord for the game, my personal Discord, Patreon, my previous game on Steam called FTD2, and there's a couple other links there that you might be interested in. So I shall see you tomorrow. Bye bye for now.